When your family's owns the business, people are harder on you. My family have never given me an easy ride. Someone might look at the company accounts and go, oh, they're living the best life. Now, I had a mental breakdown. It got too much. One of the estimators gave me a quote. Go out and buy 10 stud, 20 boards, a load of drywall, self-tappers. I just love a deal.
And you've gone to like an SIG and you've gone to a CCF or whoever you guys use, and then one of them will beat the other one by like a couple of £100. You do get a bit of a buzz off that.
It's the small wins in life. This is everything that we always tell people that come to the business or we work with. It's all about relationships. Relationships aren't triangles. It should be a full circle. You never take on something that you don't think you can deliver. Why kibosh the whole operation for a quick buck? Our industry right now needs ready-made professionals.
Our industry that we work in now is very, very toxic. Give us your opinion on how those relationships go in terms of main contractor to subcontractor, and where do you think that they need to get to?
Reform starts from the top, and they won't want to reform. My content is very real. If you read it and you see a spelling mistake, yeah, that's because I've got dyslexia, and I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm going to say something controversial. It starts at 2 places.
Ollie, welcome to SQ.FT Stories, mate.
Morning.
This is it's afternoon.
Oh, there you go. Listen, I've come all the way from Manchester. It's been a long morning already.
I don't even know if it's afternoon, by the way. I'm just saying it is. But mate, thanks so much for coming down. You are the first person that's actually commuted that distance to come down the pod, so I actually appreciate it, mate. And I've been looking forward to this one as well, because it's back chatting to you like briefly. I can kind of sense what you're like, and I know this is going to be a banger.
There's going to be a lot of fidgeting and a lot of movement going on, but it has been a long, it's been a long journey. But I don't mind that. I've never really been down this neck of the woods before, so
sleepy town.
Yeah, I did say that to you before. I was trying to hustle and bustle around people. Not that I'm from London, but Manchester's still a little bit more energetic than this. But
well, mate, thank you for coming down. I always like to start at the start, mate. So if you want to give us a little bit of brief about what you were like pre-Consensus Workplace.
Pre-Consensus, well, it depends how far back you want me to go.
Let's hear about you at school.
Right, okay, so for me, as I'm pretty public about that, and you'll probably notice by my hand movements and how much I'm moving, I suffer from ADHD, and it's not just like a small, I've just done an online test, I've got severe ADHD. So in school, me and school just didn't agree. Me and education isn't the one. So I've got dyslexia as well, so that doesn't help. Mixing the fact that I can't concentrate, I like to distract other people because I'm bored. It just never happened for me. So I was actually kicked out of 2 schools, which some people would say it was unfortunate, but I'd say it's pretty fortunate for me because I then got to actually pursue something that I kind of wanted to do. So the background is my family have actually ran fit-out companies, or a fit-out company for... Well, the old company Preferred Spaces, that was running for 21 years. And that was set up by my uncle and my granddad. And then my dad was a PM there. So it was almost destined that I was going to go into fit-out, seeing as though everyone else in my family is either a site manager, a joiner, or a PM, or an owner of a fit-out company. So that's where we kind of go from school. I got kicked out of college. Well, I made it into a college doing a BTEC.
Yeah.
Which is no shameful. I don't really care because I just didn't have the effort or the concentration to do it. So I got kicked out of college, or they asked me to leave because it looked better on my record. I bounced around like the standard jobs of, I had a trial shift in Domino's, pat that in. The football's on, so I was like, it was a trial shift as well, so you can't hate me for it. And then I went to a call centre, I worked there for 3 months, and it was the worst experience of my life. I actually have a lot of admiration for people who work the phones. A lot of people bash them, but I couldn't do it.
It's tiring. I mean, I've never done it, but I've got a couple of friends who are in sales, and I've got, utmost respect for banging the phones all day.
All day. Like my mate does with recruitment, he's really good at it. He'd be like ringing 200 people a day. I'm like, I couldn't comprehend it. So, in long story short, kicked out of school, the ADHD didn't help, and then worked at Preferred Spaces from the age of 16.
So what's Preferred Spaces?
Preferred Spaces, they no longer exist, but that was my uncle and my granddad's company.
Okay.
So They were a successful company. So they turned over up to about 15 million, but we're talking like a good 12 years ago. So obviously had a bit of inflation on it. It's a good sized company. At one point they occupied 2 floors, they had about 30, 40 staff, proper D&B company. And they had some good clients, United Utilities, PZ Cousins, and they won a couple of awards as well. So it was a successful, you can almost say fit outs in the blood.
Yeah.
So I worked there from the age of 16, and I've done everything from being on site, and then...
Did you start on site?
Yeah, I started out labouring.
I did exactly the same. So I did pre-Jade Aiden, I was at a company called, this is when I was like 17.
Yeah.
I worked away from home for a company called Borders Project Management.
Did you enjoy it?
I tell you what I enjoyed.
Working away.
Do you know what, mate? I can't really remember if I enjoyed it or not.
Must have had a good time then.
Yeah. I tell you what I enjoyed, and I tell you what, because I worked on site as well, you know, for like the predecessing couple of years after that as well. But I enjoyed like the camaraderie of being on site. I enjoyed working with the people on site, and you know, like working in a team. I really enjoyed that. But I was basically shop fitting labouring for. I want to say it was like 40 or 50 quid a day, maybe 50 quid a day to start with. And then I used to get paid like food allowance when I was there. But they used to do Clark's shoe shop. So I was like traveling around the country, like working away, as I said. But I loved like working with people, but I stopped after I think it was about a year and a half. But in terms of a grounding that gave me for being in Fit Out now, it's incredible.
I know. And I feel like you have, not knocking anyone who's come through a different route, but you have that kind of, don't want to say respect because I think that's the wrong word, but you do have that grounding where you do understand that people's times and people's job roles and sometimes how maybe people react when something's not quite going to plan on site. And then I came into the office and I did admin, O&Ms, procurement, small works, anything that anyone does in a fit out office, I've done. I've even dabbled in a bit of accounts, which was a dangerous game, but yeah, I did. Just reconciliations and stuff like that. But that's obviously given me, basically what my family wanted me to do was just have as many strings to my bow as possible. Yeah.
That's really good, mate. That's a really good grounding. But also, like, how did you find? Because working in a family company is different to working for non-family members. So, how did you find working in the family company? And also, how did you find like other people who are working there? How did they like take you come in?
It's well, I can't speak for now because now is completely different, obviously, and we'll get onto that. But my uncle, who we used to work for, was a tough man to work for, and they no longer exist, so I will speak about it. And he wasn't a good boss at all. He was one of those bosses that wasn't not a good boss. He was just on top of everyone. He liked to micromanage. I can't be micromanaged. Yeah, I don't do it now. It's a horrible way of managing people, and you don't get the best out of people. So he sat in the corner on his big desk, and everyone else sat out in the field. So as soon as you walked in, there was an atmosphere. So it was tough, and my family have never given me an easy ride. So even up to the age of 18, I was on £3.50 an hour as an apprentice. Oh. Yeah, an easy ride. And then my first like big pay rise was when I was 20, when I got 19 grand a year, which again, in this day and age, you can't live off. Obviously, we're talking a few years ago now, but I was never treated any differently. I was a runner. I was first in, so we actually owned the building we were in, and we had other tenants working in there. So I had to come in at 7 o'clock. The actual office didn't open till 8:30, but I had to come in at 7 o'clock, like empty all the dishwashers for the building, unset the alarm, open all the shutters, make sure everything was fine, and then I had to stay as well to lock up the building. So I was working long hours as a kid, but again, it wasn't tough.
Yeah, you just get on with it.
You get on with it, but how did people perceive me? Yeah, it was obviously when your family owns the business, people are harder on you. And that's the truth, but I was always a cocky kid, and I could handle my own. I've been brought up in like a lot of people have. I was brought up around my dad's friends, and they're all like rugby players, hockey players, but great camaraderie between everyone, like what you were saying about being on site. So I've been brought up in that atmosphere where you can take it, but you can also dish it out. So for me, whoever gave me it, I'd dish it out. And I did learn the hard way at being 16. And I do appreciate that people did give me a tough time, because I've never been soft, but maybe I was at the start. And like anyone coming into work at the age of 16, straight out of school, you're going to be a little bit soft, aren't you?
Yeah, you're green as well. You're wet behind the ears. I always used to get told, you're wet behind the ears, you are, mate. And
I think everyone's made that kind of mistake where they're like, oh, do you know who like I am, the kind of thing. And that was said a couple of times. Yeah. Right. But
that ain't going down well if you say that.
No, it's not. But it was 16, 17. And I had no reason. I wasn't even like that at all. So I don't know why that happened, but it does. And yeah, it was tough, but it gave me a good backbone to what I am now.
So how long? So you labouring, and then you went into the office, and you're doing, like O&Ms. You're basically doing donkey work, the stuff no one else wants to do in the office.
I actually liked it though.
Did you?
It was like methodical. Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I got straight, because everyone knew that I could kind of speak, and I wasn't bothered. So they thought, what can Ollie do? Get him to do procurement. So I was just ringing around merchants and ringing around subbies and be like, oh, can I have 2.5% MCD? No, okay, can I have 2.5% MCD? Or those prices aren't the best. Can we have? Oh, well, Juicings have said that, or SIG have said that, and that's what I was doing, and I loved it. I had targets, and for the first time, I actually felt like I was doing something like outside of school. Obviously, coming from school and college just didn't work, but I found something I actually liked.
The thing is, though, like by the sounds of it as well, like you've done labour and you've done procurement, which, by the way, what a skill set to start with as well. Procurement, trying to understand, like suppliers rates, subcontractor rates, trying to understand like the basic finances of a project, really, and materials and suppliers. Like that's such a good foundation to be able to get to, like where I'm sure we'll talk about where you are today. But like doing that, by the way, I can't believe you enjoyed that. I cannot stand that sort of thing.
I loved it. I genuinely, someone would give me one of the estimators give me a quote, or say go out and buy 10 stud, 20 boards, a load of drywall, self-tappers, and I'd be like, right, I've got 4 suppliers on my list, here we go. And I just liked it. I just love a deal.
Do you know what, mate? That, sorry to interrupt, but like I appreciate that bit. You when you get a bit of money off, or when you know when you go to like you've got a big material list and you're in your procurement process as such, and you've gone to like an SIG and you've gone to a CCF or whoever you guys use, and then one of them will beat the other one by like a couple of £100. You do get a bit of a buzz off that.
It's the small wins in life. It's just small wins.
You do that. I do get that. So, mate, obviously you've done all those areas of the business. So like tell me about your route up from, so you're labour and procurement, O&M's what it is, and then where did you get to after that?
I've obviously then I started doing a little bit of like small works management, and that was just literally like office space, so anything up to like 10 grand I could just send lads out. It was just doing a lot of student work at the time, so a lot of the student providers when they first came to the UK lent on the contractor a lot. So it was kind of like I'll send the floor layers to a block in Huddersfield, and then they'll price a job up, and I'd send it to the client, get the quote done, put it into a cost sheet, but also kind of doing a little bit of estimating at the same time. So we had a couple of estimators and QSs, so I just sat with them. So I learned how to do a spreadsheet, learned how to use Excel properly, learned how to do cost management, CSAs, all that kind of stuff from a very young age. So from the age of about 19, I could price a job up to about 100 grand, like quite comfortably off a set of drawings. Yeah. But obviously I've been there for a long time. And again, numbers, although I'm dyslexic and I've got ADHD, numbers I love. If you put a pound sign in front of something, I'm all over it. Yeah, I'm all over it. I love monetary values.
Yeah.
So I went from the small works side of things, and then obviously things took a little bit of a turn at the age of 21, where me and my dad decided, okay, enough's enough now. We want to go and try it on our own.
And was that parting from the uncle and the granddad's company?
So
was it?
Yeah, unfortunately, my granddad passed away a few years before that. But my uncle was going a different route. It was obvious to everybody that he was kind of winding down, and he was looking, the building that we were in, he was looking to turn into apartments, and which he did very successfully. And he's a brilliant businessman, really, and incredibly talented salesman. But he had his time, and he was winding down. So my dad's always been one of these people that hands down one of the best project managers anyone will ever meet. I'm telling you, the man is unflappable. You would never know the man's stressed ever, and it's unbelievable.
That, by the way, is a superpower, being a project manager, being able to cope under extreme pressure, because you're dealing with so many different moving parts to a project, subbies, timelines, client budgets. Like there's so much in there. So trying to maintain your like calm and coolness on a project is so difficult. It's like a superpower.
It is, and the superpower there with the old man is that his last year at Preferred, he did 7 million of his own clients and priced it all and delivered it all in the same year.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So to price, deliver it, bring it in all at the same time. But it just, him and his brother had their day, and he wanted to try it on his own. And at first he was a little bit, I'm not saying he's taken back, but it took him a little bit of time to say, yeah, let's do it. Because obviously he's worked there for a long time, it's his brother. There's a lot of factors you have to factor in there. And I kind of he sat me down and said, what do you think? And I was like, well, if you don't, I will. I said, I will. And at the age of 21, I was like, I will. I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And listen, like that word you used before, green, a little bit wet behind the ears. I was wet behind the ears. I would have failed completely. If it was on my own, I would have failed a couple of times, got it right in the end. Yeah. But that's just my character. So in the end, we split away and we started Consensus, and now we're in our 6th year.
So let's dive into that. So you've started Consensus, How old were you? 21.
22 when it started.
22.
When we formed, yeah, September the 12th, 2018. And I only know that 'cause I got tattooed on my leg.
Did you?
Yeah, in Roman numerals. It's classy.
Just a short break from the episode, which I really hope you guys are enjoying. This podcast has been invaluable for me, and I hope it's providing a lot of value for yourselves. If you could just do me one small favor and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform, not only does it help me and the podcast, but it also helps share stories and insights from the industry that we find ourselves in. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So, you know, started in 2018, and there's a 6-year journey up to now. That's obviously one hell of a journey. Take us through the journey of the 6 years.
Well, do you know what? It took us 6 months to get our first client.
Did it?
Yeah.
Why so long?
Just because no one had any work.
Yeah.
And it was September. We decided we'd start up at the start of a year, and then obviously once you've got everything going, as you probably know, once you get everything going, it takes a couple of months.
Yeah.
To get your accounts, speak to whoever you need to, and obviously jobs don't start instantly. There's a process behind that, so it took like 6 months, and it was from one of my dad's clients who they backed him, and they actually said to him, and it's a conglomerate, if I can get my words out, massive company, and they backed him and said, "We love working with you. You're an honest man. We'll back your business," and it did kind of go from there. I managed to get our first job. Our first job was actually one of my clients.
Was it?
Yeah. So we got our first job in, and I think it's like 80 grand or something like that. And my dad went and did it, and I was like, he shouldn't even be doing those kind of jobs like that. He wouldn't even bat an eyelid, but obviously that's just how you start out. So in the first year, we did 2 million in the first year, which...
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah, and it's really good. And I know a lot of people out there would love to turn that over in their first year as well. But again, for me, and this is everything that we always tell people that come to the business or we work with, it's all about relationships. Relationships aren't triangles. It should be a full circle. If we do work for you and we do good work, then you should keep using us. Yeah. And again, it goes around with the subbies, everything like that. It should all be one circle.
Yeah, and that's why I know we're definitely going to touch on it, but that's why I don't understand you call it a circle. Why subbies, predominantly subbies and suppliers as well, why they get treated like they're bottom of the pile? Because we as companies, and you know you guys as well, are nothing without the subbies. So like you being
you're
able,
only as good as your last. That's what I always say. You're only as good as your last job. And you're only as good as your subbies.
It's that you're true. So like the big boys who treat the subbies like shit. No. I can't see how they can continually pump out projects to a high standard. But
we'll get onto that because we're both gonna have a couple of good opinions on that. So yeah, then we went from strength to strength. I've always been. Sorry,
mate. Sorry to interrupt as well. What's the setup? So you've done £2 million the first year. Is it just the two of you?
Yeah, that was just me and my old man.
Yeah, so like a lot.
I was just his wingman.
A lot of hard work.
I went straight. I went from small works.
Yeah.
Up to anything to 10 grand to, someone wants a job doing. My dad had, at this point, had got a couple of jobs under his belt, and he was working away at the time as well, a job in Glasgow and one in Leeds. So he was like occupied, and obviously we're all doing our own admin at the same time and doing the a bit of accounts as well. So anyway, my dad goes, "You're gonna have to do this job. It's 165k, and it's for an architect's practice as well." So obviously, looking at every little bit of detail.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not ashamed to say that we broke even just about.
Yeah.
I made a complete cock of it.
Yep.
He had to come in, and a couple of the older boys helped me out, which I'm forever grateful for. But it was a massive learning curve, and at the same time, my cousin's joined as well, Lockie, who's still with us now. So he's gone from labouring, joiner, site manager. Now he's a project manager, and we were both stood there at the age of like 22 and 19, just like, this is tough. This is really tough. But then I was doing other bits as well where, again, when in your first year, you do anything to get by. So we were doing for like one of our flexible workspaces and office provider clients. They just wanted furniture moving. So we had a van. So we'd move furniture from Leeds to London, and it would just do it. And fixing door handles, all that kind of stuff, maintenance days. That's just how it started out. Like, not every startup's just going to be nice, sexy work, is it? That everyone wants.
Also, mate, like, you know, the small works, the changing the door handle. Yeah, not only are they bread and butter, but like that's how the majority of relationships are nurtured and developed from the changing door handle. And you know, if you do a good job of it, as in like just your prompts and your communication's good, you change that door handle. They're like, "Oh, we need a door change now." You do the door change, and then you like, "Oh, we actually need, you know, all the fire doors changed." You do that, and then like, "Oh, we actually are moving space. You guys are trustworthy. We'll use you for the next one."
Yeah, well, we've had that where I've taken her down a wall for someone in Manchester City Centre. it's like 1,500 quid. And next minute, you know, we've had 4 million out of them in a 6-month period, which is unbelievable. But again, some people just want to test you out on something tiny, but a lot of people just don't appreciate that or won't look at it and go, oh, right, okay, well, we'll just chuck it to someone, not really manage it, probably fuck it up, and then that's how it goes. But now the setup, so we've had year-on-year growth.
Yep.
And the setup now is my dad. So my dad, again, I'll talk about him, is a project manager through and through. He is an amazing project manager through and through, and he's the backbone of the company as it is now, with the infancy. I mean, we're still an infant company of 6 years, so he is the pillar of it. So, but I've always been one for, I love BDing, I love going out speaking to people, and I'm good at, I would like to say I'm self-proclaimed good at building relationships.
Self-proclaimed, you have to get that in there.
Yeah, self-proclaimed.
Before
someone goes, oh yeah, he's being big-headed. Self-proclaimed. I'm half decent at having a conversation with someone, and I find it easy. I've always found, not selling, because I don't think you sell to people. You build a relationship.
Yeah,
with
communication.
People. Communication's everything. So that's where I've kind of gone. So I've done my time of PMing. I did 6 years of PMing, or 5.5 years of PMing. I was half decent at it. I can run a job. I can price a job. I've run jobs up to 750k, and I've priced jobs up to 1.8 million. Which is good. I feel like that.
Yeah, mate, definitely. And
good.
Also, it's difficult to find people who can do both as well. Someone who's like the all-round package, who can go from, you know, like concept all the way through to completion is so difficult to find, because nowadays people want to be one or they want to be the other. I want to be a project manager, or I want to be an estimator, or I want to be in BD or pre-con, whatever it is. They want to be one or the other. All
our PMs, so we've got 4, they all price and run all their own jobs, and they wouldn't have it any other way. But again, to do that now, we've noticed you're going to have to train people up to do that.
Yeah.
Or give them a bit of time. So now we are a team. So we've gone from just me and my old man, and now we're a team of 11, 12.
Yeah.
So we've just, last year we did 6 million. This year, the financial year just gone, we've done 11.5.
So how have you gone from, because that's a double. So like, how have you gone from 6 to 11? Not only the projects you're carrying out, but like the team as well. How's it developed?
We added 1 more PM and a commercial director, and that's it.
Yeah.
Subbies, we spoke to the subbies, and they've got good ones we had. They just said, yeah, we'll employ more people.
Yeah.
They've continued on that, and they've also found more work. So people have grown with us. We didn't do anything stupid. We took on manageable work. What was lucky was I specifically had a client where they were spending good amount of money with us, and we got a lot of projects off them at the same time. But their office spaces, although different part of the countries and very nice spaces, it's cookie cutter. So once you do one, theoretically, as long as you take the same team, you should be able to just get them out and do them, which is kind of what we did. And then my dad's got some really good clients where it's repeat business, so he knows exactly what he's doing, and it's at the same estate. So, you know, when it's like that, it does get a bit easier. But I mean, we've worked every, like I said, I've just at Christmas did Exeter, Newcastle,
it's a long
Bristol.
way for you.
I think when I did a half year like stats off the system, 56% of our work was outside the Northwest.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was that intentional, unintentional, or was
we're
that just following
nationwide.
the work? Yeah.
Like when we say we're nationwide. Like we've done a 40 grand job in Edinburgh this year.
How do you don't have to go into the finance behind that, but like, how do you make that work? Because the 40 grand job in Edinburgh, you know, with all the logistics and trying to get the team up there, and yourself, your time going up there, and PMs.
So what you do is you ask people in the industry, although it's really frowned upon that no one wants to talk to anyone, ask other people, have you been to Edinburgh before? Can you recommend anyone? And we luckily on that occasion, we told the client as well, for any disclaimers come out, that we found a company up there who were really trustworthy. A couple of people have recommended them, and our electricians we use up there, they're quite a big company, and they said, oh, they do work for them anyway. So just another smaller fit out company, and we passed them the job. We made a small margin, which we told the client. I think we said, yeah, we'll do 10% management fee, and we'll go up once a week, and we'll manage it that way. And it's not, for me, that's a way that you can actually help others grow. Is that there's so many jobs out there that the bigger boys, and even we turn down because we can't facilitate, or the bigger boys go, oh no, it's not enough value for us. That you, rather than just turn it down and cast it off, why not get one of your subbies to do it for you? Let them grow. Give them an opportunity, like someone gave us an opportunity at one point.
It's weird why it's frowned upon in the industry that you shouldn't approach I won't want to call them competitors, but people who might be of smaller size, or people who are of equal size or even bigger, to carry out jobs for you, and you charge a management fee. I don't know why that's frowned upon in the industry. They don't. I get it slightly from the perspective of maybe they don't want to give up a client because you're then passing over the baton to.
But if you're the one dealing with the client, and you're the middleman between the client and the subby, and it's no different from you using a joiner and being the middleman.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. By the way, I try and forge working relationships with people in the industry as well, but there's many who don't because of the reason why they're selfish and they want to protect the client.
Panic. It's like, oh no, they might speak to my client and they might take my client. It's about service. Your client doesn't want to go. They've asked you to do it and they're okay with it because they want your service. They want to speak to you because it's easy. People perceive what we do is really difficult. It's not. Everything in life, or my understanding of life, is everyone just wants an easy ride. And everyone wants an easy life. No one wants to make life difficult for themselves. So I always say, people always go, why do people want to deal with you? Right. So a really good, say, right, a Rolex watch. Why do people buy it? It's reliable. It's a nice brand, but it's reliable. You get a lifetime guarantee with it. It's probably not going to break.
Yeah.
So why do people use other people? Or why do people go to Tesco's? They know where the where the bread aisle is, and they know where that is. They know they can park the car. That's just what a serviced industry is. If they know what they're getting, someone has a job elsewhere as well. So a lot of our clients, and everyone's clients, might be a finance director for a company. Managing a fit out's not their everyday job. That's why we exist. So if you can give it to us and we run with it, then that's all they want, is an easy life, so they can actually do what their day job tells them to do.
Yeah, it's true. And like you said, they just want to outsource everything. They'd rather outsource everything. And granted, they pay a premium for it, but if you're trustworthy and you deliver the project and whatever works you're doing for them, then it's worth it from their perspective. Because a lot of the people as well, sometimes we're dealing with the directors or the CEOs, but also we're dealing with just the facilities managers. So they're having to report to their superior. So they don't want to be going back to their superior.
Again, it's a circle of it's a circle of trust, isn't it? That's all it is. It's a circle of trust. But people try and change the circle of trust, and that's where it starts going Pete Tong. There's some things in life you should never change, and if you can work as a team, that's all it is.
No, that's fair, and I completely agree with you on that. Let's dive into Consensus now. So you're on track for 11. Did you say this year?
We just hit 11 and a half. So that's financial year done. So we do September to October.
Such good growth there. So what sort of projects are you guys carrying out now compared to what you were when you were at 6 and the years before that?
It's hard to put a finger on it, but it's just taking on more, trusting the team more. And not that we didn't beforehand, but trusting the team, trusting the subbies, having George, who's just joined us, commercial director.
Was that a big change?
Yeah, because we're noticing that me and my dad are good at what we do, the team's good, but there's other people that may be better at understanding the industry than we are. I mean, we've only worked at 2 companies, and both are pretty similar size, so now it's about getting to that next step. So George has worked on client side for one of the biggest property owners in the Northwest, and is Rick's chartered surveyor, and then he's also worked for another fit-out company that's turning over 50 million quid a year. I was commercial director there, project director. So we brought him in commercially because he understands both sides of the fence, and now he's refining us a little bit more. So nothing goes out the door. An Excel just doesn't go out the door cost. It's a full pack. There's a location plan behind it. The designer does it's a week-long process to get it out. So that's what we're trying to refine now, making sure that there's consistency to everything we do. Just bringing in a little bit more HR. So not HR, but actually reviewing stuff. So if we say we've tendered 3 jobs in a week, we didn't win any of them. It's to sit down then and go, right, so where do you think that we might do better? Just processes, I guess, and a strategy to go forward. But in terms of the actual jobs that we're taking on, there's nothing different. They're just growing in size. And then as you're growing, people notice you as well. So I put a lot of work into people noticing us. We're spending more money on marketing because I feel like there's a huge gap in the market for marketing within this archaic industry.
It's true, yeah, it's true.
People don't understand it. So as you grow, and your presence grows out there as well, then more people want to deal with you. So it's just about, and the one thing that my dad's always taught me, And even from the old company and the older guys taught me, you never take on something that you don't think you can deliver. Because, like I said before, only as good as your last job. So why kibosh the whole operation for a quick buck? And what's the old saying, that turnover's vanity, profit's sanity? Just, I mean, for me, running a company is really simple. No matter what company I ever run or I set up, whether regardless it's fit out, flooring, or it's something completely different, selling mugs, as long as you're profitable, you pay your staff well and treat them well, your business will grow. And one of the main things is setting up Consensus, and I've spoken on my own pod about, was I understood what a toxic working environment was. So I said, I will spend more time with the people that work here than I will at home on my own or with my family or with my missus. So why not make it a family environment? And I know people say that's like, you shouldn't really do that because then people might pull the wool over your eyes and stuff like that. It's absolute bollocks. If people enjoy coming to work, they'll never feel like they actually work. And people don't work for you, they work with you.
Yeah, well, the culture within the workspace has changed anyway, because, you know, like 20, 30 years ago in an office, it was a lot different. Cultures, like how people worked, how people communicated, collaborated within the space itself. So like nowadays it's so different. You know, like where we are as well, it's relatively like a sort of, well, not exactly, but it's predominantly like a flat organizational structure. So like there's no
hierarchy.
So like people can make decisions, obviously, and there's people who are in charge as such, but people can make decisions in their field. Like you're trusted to be able to make the decision for that, rather than having to come to me and ask, not me or like the other people who are at work. You can make the decision. So like, the culture's massive.
That's the thing, there's no hierarchy. You may have an MD, you might have a director, they might make some fundamental decisions for the business. But, you know, if you were ever going to make, the reason why people sometimes go wrong, and I get it, as you grow and grow and grow, you're not going to tell everyone what you're doing. But there has to be some sort of like, there's going to be a drastic change. Like, we're just taking more space. So we got everyone around the table and was like, oh, we're taking more space, we're going to go to the office because the team's going to get bigger. Everyone's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But like, what people do is just suddenly start bringing new people, and everyone's like, I didn't even know that people were joining, that kind of thing. And that's what I never wanted. So we all sit on one long bench at the moment. That's getting broken up now because it's no longer sustainable. But that's what we wanted. I wanted Jane, our office manager, to sit next to the MD. The MD sits next to the junior. And it's just like, why not just be a team? So everyone, our employee retention is 95%. Only one person's ever left.
Really?
Yeah.
That's obviously credit to the leaders, who yourselves, your dad and George, is it, the commercial director?
Yeah. Guys
who lead the team, so like credit to you guys. You mentioned about the marketing side of our industry there, and also how you're trying to push like a personal brand as such. What's like your plans with the personal brand? Because there's not many people in our industry who are pushing a personal brand, and people predominantly would want to do it through LinkedIn. Because what I'm trying to do is grow my personal brand, because
which you're doing really well.
People buy through people rather than through. So, you know, the old saying or the new saying, whatever it is. So like, what's your plans with like your personal brand?
It's a difficult one, really, because I noticed that people don't want to just see pictures of jobs. Like, no one wants to see pictures of, like, that's fine. Get your company to post that for you. So, the personal brand is just, and my content is very real. I don't spell check and I don't have Grammarly because I'm a dyslexic. So if you read it and you see a spelling mistake, that's because I've got dyslexia, and I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. So for me, people will try and be refined. And by the way, anyone who's using ChatGPT, we can all know, we can all see
so
it.
Obvious.
It's so obvious, Make sure you're taking those Z's out, okay, for the S's, because we're not American. But so real form of content. So like, I'll speak about having ADHD, I'll speak about being dyslexic, and I'll speak about ups and downs as well. Like I even put the other day that in terms of growing, everyone thinks, oh yeah, it's great. Someone might look at the company accounts and go, oh, you know, they're living the best life. Now I had a mental breakdown because it got too much, and I took on too much, and that is what I understand now. And I just want people to see that, again, what you're saying is that there is people behind the brand. And I don't want to just be known as Ollie at Consensus. I want people to, if they're going to deal with me, see me on LinkedIn and go, oh yeah, okay, I can resonate with him. So there might be a CEO of a major company who's got ADHD and read one of my posts. And, up until a couple of days ago, I'd have thought that's impossible. But then I've obviously, for some reason, everyone's
gone
like...
viral, haven't you, on a post?
Apparently so, yeah.
Caused a bit of disrupt.
Caused a bit of disrupt, which, it's not really... There's a lot more controversial opinions in the world than whether I think an apprenticeship is better than going to uni, but I can only speak for myself. But I didn't find it was that controversial. But yeah, I think we're on like 1.3 million impressions.
Give us your opinion on that post, because obviously you did a post recently about apprenticeships versus university and the finances behind it and the potential opportunities that come off the back of it. So give us your opinion on the two sides of the story. Well, give us your side of the story, not both sides. Sorry.
Yeah, I will. I think apprenticeships are better, and I would honestly, I would only encourage people if they were stuck between the two. Some people want to go to university. Yeah, crack on, do it. Because university's always been a linear way. There's people out there like me who were told from an early age, uni. Yeah, well, that's great if you're sat on your high horse, you've gone to university, you've got your degree. Some people out there who aren't capable of that. And there's some great talents out there that, like me, and everyone who gave me hate for it, by the way, I was one of those people that I needed to be in a working environment to see the best. So what you're going to do, just push people who don't go to university into working in Tesco's, or you must do a lower paid job because you've not gone to university. Why not get people to go to places of work and do an apprenticeship and learn on the job? For me, and again, it's my opinion, I'm entitled to my opinion, is you can work on the job but you can do a degree apprenticeship. And someone from JLL reposted it, was like, the best thing I've ever done. So that's someone who's working for a company like JLL. So those kind of companies are doing degree apprenticeships because, like me, sometimes you need ready-made people. Okay, so again, my opinion, so you start work at 18, yeah? You got two people. Me, who starts an apprenticeship at 18, I'm going straight into the workplace. You're going to university, okay? And you're going to go to lectures, and I'm going to work 5 days a week, 38 hours a week, okay? I'm picking up experience from day one. By the time we both finish at the same time, I'm going to finish my apprenticeship or my degree apprenticeship. You're going to finish your degree. I've got 3 years of working collateral behind me and experience. You've got 3 years of going to uni. And everyone who goes to, a majority of people who I know who went to uni, didn't turn up to every lecture. Yeah. And that's facts, okay? That's it again. They didn't because university allows you to have that choice. And I used to envy people who went to uni because I saw my friends having the best time of their life.
So did
I.
But
I was able to travel. I had the money to go out when I wanted to.
Yep.
I still had a really good time, but I was able to grow. And in this day and age as well, I feel like even when I was younger at the age of 18, degree was essential.
Yeah.
It's not anymore. So
no, you're right. I to an extent agree with you. There's certain avenues and paths that you have to go down for the university
of course
route, but the apprenticeship side of things and getting on-site experience or actual job experience is it's one of the most important things about doing an apprenticeship. Because I did an apprenticeship as well. I didn't go to the uni. Did I enjoy the apprenticeship? I didn't really enjoy working on. This was after I did the labouring for the shop fitting company. I did a carpentry apprenticeship, and by no means did I enjoy the slog of it, but I now appreciate the fact that I did that because I've learned a lot about the construction industry, and not only that, I've learned a lot about hard work and graft, because working on a building site when you're an apprentice or a labourer, you're bottom of the totem pole, and there is a hierarchy on the building site, right. Regardless what anyone ever says. You're making the teas, so that the hierarchy is there, so you understand the structure of a building of a building site, and not only that is you're gaining valuable experience about it and hard work, because you have to work hard to get on. You can be useless as an apprentice and know nothing, but if you work hard, you'll be appreciated on the site. So you learn hard work from early.
On site you're judged on graft.
You are, it's true.
But my cousin who works for us now, Lockie, he got A stars in all his A levels, but he wanted to earn money, and so he was working on site as a labourer from the age of 16 on weekends and stuff like that. And then he's obviously picked up trades. His dad was a stonemason and his brother was a joiner, so he's picked up that joinery arm from them, and at the age of 18 was earning good money as being a self-employed joiner. But he could have gone to university, but he just didn't want to. And if you ask him now, he's glad he didn't go. But there's people out there who go and they have the best time in the world, and I can like I said, I can only speak for myself. And the point I was making that a lot of people didn't understand, and I put it on my post, was I can only speak for my industry, and our industry right now needs ready-made professionals, because there's a lack of skills and there's a shortage out there of skilled tradesmen and in-house operatives.
No, you're right.
They just don't exist.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find as well. Super difficult to find. And also, I think, linking back to your point earlier when you said about, people going to uni and not wanting to go down the construction route. I think nowadays with everything that's around social media and being able to present a lifestyle, a career lifestyle as such, it's very difficult to glamorize a construction lifestyle when you're working. So like at the end of the day, you're grafting, you're on site, you're sweaty, dirty, it's hard. It's hard graft. And trying to glamorize that to people coming into the industry or who are thinking about it is very difficult. Whereas like other industries, it's easy to glamorize it. So they're looking at that thinking that looks like a easier career. It looks, I get a better lifestyle from that. Rather than the construction side of things, they're looking at it thinking like, do I really want to be slogging it out for 8 to 10 hour days? Like sweeping up, digging. Yeah. But it's a shame it's like that because like they can earn equal or if not more money. Like the career opportunities as well off the back of it, they're incredible. So
I'm going to say something controversial.
Go on.
It starts at 2 places.
Yep.
Education, right, and home. And that's where it starts. Okay, I've never been told to go to university. My dad didn't go to university, and my mum didn't either. So I've never been pushed down the uni route, and neither have any of my siblings. But a lot of people's their parents' aim is to get them into university. So why not? And then school as well. Sorry, my mind's going everywhere. School, you're never told. For me, when I went to school, construction was for the people that were struggling. So people like me at school, you'll end up a brickworker. You're a brickie. You'll have to go to manual labour college, engineering college, where you will learn to be a mechanic and stuff like that. And that's genuinely what it was like. And again, just my school was like that. And that was just a normal comprehensive school, wasn't a private school, for anyone who's watching. So it starts at those 2 places. So like you said, you're never going to be able to glamorise working outside or on site covered in dust all day. But what you can, and again, someone commented saying you can't put a monetary value on everything. Well, the only way you can get people to come into this industry that's been frowned upon or a lesser industry, you're going to get covered in shit all day, is to put a monetary value on it. Because by the way, those people that are speaking like that are 40 years my senior. I understand, and it goes back to the personal brand and the marketing, how to communicate in this world now. And you'll know as well, watching TikTok and watching Reels, if you're you meet some 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and they go, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 21. It's easy. Everyone's doing it. Look, if you are not on TikTok and you don't understand Instagram, then you won't understand that. But you must see, like, people are just waltzing around going, join my trading group. I'm living in Dubai and I'm 21 and I've retired and my parents are retired. Genuinely, that's what kids believe these days. So the only way you're going to get them in is if you can show a chart like I showed that there's going to be a monetary value to it. And it's not knocking uni. It's just saying like, okay, well, if you're struggling, then come in.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really do. And I really believe in the route, and I think more people need to be pushing the route of, because it's very difficult to find young, skilled labour nowadays. Who on site as well specifically, and also in the office, people who have had site experience and they're relatively young, someone who's had an apprenticeship at 16, they've done their apprenticeship to 21, they've worked on site till 24, 25, and then they go into like a PM role, so they've got the site experience and they've got the office experience, so by the time they're 30, they've done 14, 15 years in the industry, half on site, half in the office. There's not many people like that anymore. We're either getting people straight out of uni who have done, building management or QS or whatever degree they've done, but
that's good once you get the experience under your belt, because yes, you understand process and you understand the fundamentals and the legalities, but do you understand how that wall's built?
They probably don't. They probably don't. You're right. Let's have a little chat about the future for Consensus. So, where what's the plan for you guys? Because you've grown drastically in the 6 years that you've been operating, from 2 to 11, and specifically in the last year from 6 to 11 million pound. That is. What's the future looking like? Like, what's the plans for you guys?
The plan is to keep growth, but steady growth. Rome wasn't built in a day, and drastic growth is hard to like that growth isn't normal. You aren't meant to go from 6 to 11 in a year. It shouldn't happen, but it has. So it's about now going, what do you want? So are we going to grow by another 20%? Is that manageable? Okay, yes. And how are we going to get there? So it's your timeline of, okay, are we going to do this, this, and this? I won't go and bore everyone with the details of that. It's going to be a little bit like this, that we're going to keep pushing on with the marketing, because again, we just had a passionate conversation about that, because I truly believe that the more people can know about the work we're doing and the team behind, the more people want to work with us. And that's just, I kind of see a B2C kind of marketing thing going on in the B2B community now, because we're so, and I did a podcast the other day with a woman called Claire, who owns a brilliant branding agency called Serotonin, and they're growing, very drastic growth. And she was saying that she's got a couple of construction clients, and they're starting to understand that the stuff that the B2C guys do is a transferable skill to the B2B. So we're going to do a lot of marketing. I've obviously got the podcast going on, and just getting out more, sponsoring more events, going to more networking events, a little bit old school way, that kind of stuff. Still works, exactly. Like I said, sponsoring events, doing some more ESG stuff, climbing, doing the free peaks, stuff like that.
That's me hard.
Yeah, it is. And just forging more relationships with people. The only way you're going to, and servicing existing clients, keep doing it, offering better services, and just, getting people in who understand the ethos of the company, and letting the people that are with you now grow, and then grow their clients. Like, we might have a couple of clients who've just come into the business now, and we put the importance on the PMs and the rest of the team, that if it's a new client, then we service them just how any other client would get serviced, and make sure we do service them really well. Obviously, you're only as good as your last project. May not be, if you mess it up, you're never going to get a job out of them again. Like, keep pushing, and if you service them, they'll give you more work. And then dedicate that PM. Say to that PM, I may have brought that client in, but why don't you run with it, see where you can grow the client, and then we'll also contribute to the growth to yourself. So, like everyone, PMs should be on a commission structure, I feel, and so should the rest of the team. So if you reward people for your success, then people will continue to grow the company.
Yeah, they want to work with you as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to do anything wild. We're not looking for another 85% increase. That wouldn't be sustainable again. So just steady growth. I would love to glamorize it and say we're going to do this, put all these processes in, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to continue the way we're doing the formula we have now, which is old school methods with some new school methods as well, and grow like that, because there's a gap in the market for it.
How about, that's the future for Consensus. How about the future of the industry? Let's have a little chat about that, because there's a lot of, media going around at the moment. Our industry that we work in now is very, very toxic to an extent, and there's a lot going around about the bigger players, the main contractors, and how they treat their subcontractors. We touched on it earlier, but let's go into a little bit of depth about that, because that forges the future of the industry as well. So give us your opinion on how those relationships go in terms of main contractor to subcontractor, and where do you think that they need to get to?
I think it's an easy one. I don't think it will change. Reform starts from the top, and they won't want to reform because they're too deep in. ISG went because they were pricing jobs at ludicrous percentages to outcost the next person, and I feel sorry for everyone that worked at ISG who then had to find out on LinkedIn that they didn't have a job in the morning, which is actually disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It's disgusting, and that's the state of play, that the bigger boys, and anyone can say what they want about me, but it's facts, the bigger boys it's a race to the bottom, and the only people that will feel that effect once they win that job is the supply chain. Yeah,
and they get hit the hardest.
Yeah, and these are people, the directors of ISG or these big companies are millionaires. The everyday man who is going to have to go home and tell their wife that they don't have a job in the morning, or they're not going to be able to pay the mortgage, are the people that feel it. I've heard horror stories, and everyone's seen it on LinkedIn if you keep up with it. People coming back off holiday finding an email from one of the big contractors saying, "Oh, you owe us money because we've remeasured your work." Fuck off.
Yeah, you're right.
For me, and I am going to get passionate about it, who can go to work every day knowing you are taking a living from someone?
Yeah, that's true.
That you're chipping that person down, knowing. And by the way, I know people who work at these big companies, they laugh about it.
You are right. That word you used there is disgusting. It actually is so true. But the small issue that I see as well is that the people who are at the the C-suite level of these companies or directors, they're not they're not actually dealing with the supply chain directly. So like some of their decisions are, like heartless because they're not dealing with them. They don't know the supply chain. Whereas like
you've got to walk onto that site, like that project manager or that QS has got to walk onto that site and face the music with all those guys.
And it's no wonder that, like supply chain and subcontractors don't want to come in the industry, or they don't want to work on these projects because they can see that, like they might go above and beyond for a client, and their clients are main contractors. They might go above and beyond for this for these guys, but like at the end of the day, they might do 3-4 projects in a year for them. It's gone well. They've made a margin as such. It's hard to make a margin on main contractors, but they've made a margin. And then before you know it, the fifth or sixth job, they're cutting them off. They're like, look, we're not using you anymore. We're chipping your rate. We're not paying you that. We're not paying you for this as well. And some of those people that are coming in and working with the main contractors, they're not used to it. So like they're making their little mistakes in terms of like documentation of the project and whatnot. So you're right, it starts from the top, but like it's not really changing that much.
No, I know, and until also just thinking about it, it's all about ethics. So our industry is regulated to a point, but do the government or does an independent board go into these big companies and go, how many subbies have you made go bust this year? The answer is they don't. So until they start feeling it, the only way to pinch them is through their pockets. It's like anything in life. When we had a recession, the only way to pinch the bankers was through the pockets. So the only way you're ever going to do that is by finding people. And again, it comes from the top. Like, do you think they're going to change?
No, I actually don't. I genuinely don't think it's going to. I would like to say I can see a way that it will change, but I can't see it will because they get away with it again and again. And I don't know how it should change, by the way. By no means am I saying like...
No, again, that's why I'm struggling to give you the right answer, because I don't know. The only thing we can... But the only thing you can say is, because I've been on we've not got Consensus, but the old company, we were on the other end of a minus 200k loss from a big player.
And that's like...
Luckily enough, we had the finances to sustain that, but
you guys were lucky enough too, but some companies don't have that. And, I say this term loosely, but it could be life or death for not only the company, but there's, like some of the subbies who are having to go home to their families and they've got, they can't operate anymore because they've been shafted for a couple of $100,000 or however much the money is.
Like you're saying, they may take that the wrong way, and then next thing you know, you got death in your hands.
Yes, and that is, that does happen as well in the industry.
Of course it does, and let's not sugarcoat anything. Of course it does.
And because the guys that are actually making the high level decisions to do this, I don't think they're directly saying they're getting it or they're getting it, but that's just the the culture of the industry in terms of
I think another way of doing it as well is, for me, and again, we don't tender loads of work. We will do, obviously, because everyone has to, but make a fairer tendering process. Go to 1 or 2, not 10, or pitch all the big boys, all 5 of them against each other, and then they won't run to the bottom, and then the subbies won't get hurt. And that's the other way I can see it, is just having a fairer tendering process. Give people actual feedback.
Yeah.
A lot of times you tender for a job and you don't even hear.
Don't hear nothing.
Next thing you know, you're walking through the city centre and someone started on that site. That's a rarity, but it happens. But yeah, everything comes from the top, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame it's happening in our industry. I don't really know many other industries where this type of situation and these types of situations happen. But it's it's really, really prevalent in our industry, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
Let's have a little chat about the pod as well, because you recently started a podcast.
I did.
So
I did. Literally, it's funny, wasn't it? Because obviously you started yours, and it wasn't like I'd started mine. I think the next day I contacted you, I was like, oh, I've just started a podcast as well. Like, and then obviously when I spoke to you, obviously we're the same age, and I never meet anyone who's also a director at another federal company who's my age, because obviously it's full of the older guys. So we're kind of like red herrings, I guess. And it's nice to talk to one. And obviously when we first had a conversation, we both spoke to each other about how we understood the marketing side and the branding side of stuff. And mine's a little bit different to yours. Obviously you're focusing on, you've done what I've done previously, haven't you? So you're now focusing on the fit out industry, which, by the way, I'd watch. But I wanted to... For ours, I wanted to make sure that we had guests on who everyone can be relatable to, and also I wanted to experience talking to other business leaders, because I love to get advice off people, and from a conversation I can learn so much, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there, especially on my LinkedIn, and that's who it will be targeted to, my audience, who can learn from all these different people, and they can all have a voice, because there's seriously interesting people out there, not just in fit out, but in a lot of industries, and a lot of people that I know who could share their stories and their growth, and people can learn from.
Yeah, so mate, it's a really good move. Podcasting is very undervalued and underappreciated, and underutilized as well, because as you probably find out now, it's actually very difficult to, start a podcast. Expensive as well, but start a podcast, run a podcast, and distribute a podcast. It's expensive, it's time consuming, and if you want to do it to a reasonable standard and high quality, it's very, very difficult, because anyone can grab a mic and record on their iPhones or a webcam, but like everyone's done that, and there's, in my opinion, there's no point in doing that, because I podcasted with another guy who does a podcast as well called Tom, and we actually had a conversation about how difficult it is to run a podcast.
It's really, I'm finding that I've gone down it the proper route. I thought, I'm one of these people that I'm going to do something, let's do it properly. So luckily enough, luckily we've got a finance where we can facilitate a half decent podcast, and it's costing a lot of money, but I've got the branding done properly. I made sure the branding was all done. That takes 6-7 weeks, and then you got to approve everything, refine it. So our podcast is called the Corporate, the Character, and then ... And I haven't had a chance to explain it to the rest of the world. Obviously, I have on my pod, but no one actually knows why it's called that. But basically,
I thought that as well when I first saw it. I was thinking, what's the ...
So me and George, so again, we did it properly, the branding side of things. So we went and spoke to someone in the city centre, a company, Persona Studios, unbelievable branding company and an agency. And basically, I came up with the corporate, the character. So George is a corporate because he's had that corporate side, and I'm meant to be the character.
You are a character.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And then the ... we were going to add in, like, for each person, the creative or the content creator. And then they said, why don't you leave it open-ended, the ... because then every episode you can ask the person, so what do you see yourself as?
Oh, I see.
And then it leads to a conversation then.
What's the plan with the podcast? Like, where do you guys want to get to?
I want to grow it as much as I can, like everything in life. Keep inviting interesting people on, but make it series. So we've just done series 1 to the first 5, and then we're going to do series 2, and then we're going to mix it up a little bit. So one might be like just fit out guys, one might be just content guys, LinkedIn people who are really good on LinkedIn, so they can share their experiences. So
I'm looking for. You did one. Did you do one recently with someone on LinkedIn, or am I thinking of a completely different podcast?
I did do one.
Yeah,
is it me personally, or did I in podcast with someone else?
Did you podcast with somebody else?
Yeah, podcast. We've done one. It's not. Oh, yeah, I did. I did one for some guys called Progressus. They were just some young guys, and they wanted to interview me, but they've got loads of different people on, so like sales guys. They've even had a couple of. Johnny Nelson, who's a world champion boxer. Yeah. They had him on.
I say yes if I know him. I don't know him. I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was back in the day, he was a world champion boxer. They had him on and stuff like that. So one of my friends put me forward for it and said that he'd be an interesting person. And because, again, a lot of podcasts now just interview people who do like e-commerce or online. Yeah. So they were interested to talk to me because they were like, oh, bricks and mortar, like, what's this? Like, can you tell our listeners? Like, and so I did that. And it's not a massive popular one, but what those two young guys are doing is really interesting. They're only 20 and 21. And obviously they're starting out, and it's out at their own expense. So fair play to them.
It's expensive and tough, so credit for starting it.
Exactly.
And, I wish you all the best with the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I feel like we could have gone on for absolutely ages. That's just me, but
mate, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. Thank you so much for coming down. Thanks for being, being raw and honest as well.
Thank you.
Because it's very easy to our industry, specifically for us, for fit out. I'd say there's a bit of a professional facade that's in front of people who are in our industry, whereby they don't want to give their opinions, or they don't want to give the real, what's behind the scenes and what's actually going on. Because you look at stupid posts on LinkedIn of people who are, you know that they're clearly painting a picture that's not really going on. They're trying to be professional, and because it's so archaic, that is what it was like, but it's changing. So, mate, I'm looking forward to seeing how we can collaborate in the future.
Absolutely.
Because, we're of similar ilk, and we've got similar mindsets towards the industry and things behind the industry, personal branding, podcasting, and the marketing side of things. So I'm really looking forward to see how we can work together in the future if there's a route there.
It's up to young people like us to protest for reform within the industry and to do stuff differently. A lot of people are going to laugh at us and think, what the hell's going on here? But you just got to crack on, and in the end you prevail 100%.
Yeah, well, mate, thanks so much for coming down. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to sharing this episode with people, because there's some gold mines in it.
Short form.
Thanks so much, Ollie.
Thank you, mate.